It's in 35.5% alcohol inside that bottle. Now we know alcohol in of itself, it's an impure substance. Now don't get me wrong, don't misunderstand me over here. When I'm saying impure, yani Allah has deemed it to be najis, okay? People might argue, I had this debate with with a brother who was in medical school. He said, Ya akhi, it's a very, sterile substance. I agree with you, it's sterile, it kills bacteria. But just because it's sterile, and this is the description given by science to alcohol, it's sterile. But just because something is sterile does not mean that it is a pure substance. We distinguish between something being sterile and something being pure. It's like urine in World War II when people were wounded and they had no antiseptic, to kind of clean the wounds and whatnot. They would take the yellowest urine to clean out the wound. Now it did kill bacteria, but the fact that it killed bacteria does not make it pure. It's still an impure substance, but it has that quality of being sterile. So overall, this is something to think about, inshallah. I know there might be some questions here, so feel free, brothers, sisters. If you have any questions, inshallah, jazakumullahu khairan.
So inshallah, we can do one question from the brothers and then the sisters, so we can turn that way. So we'll start with the brothers. Questions. Maybe I'll start with if that's okay.
Yeah.
So you mentioned vanilla extract, and I was just wondering if you could go a little bit into detail when you're looking at an ingredients list.
Yes.
What kinds of vanilla extract should we be looking out for?
There are overall maybe 3 types of vanilla extract. 3 types. The most common is the pure vanilla extract. And the reason why this is important is because it's almost in everything. Anything sweet that has a nice flavor, vanilla flavor to it, it may have this pure vanilla extract added to it. Like I said, the reason why it is deemed haram is because of its alcohol content. As Muslims, we know it's haram for us to consume alcohol, whether in a small amount or large amount. Because Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, مَا أَسْكَرَ كَثِيرُهُ فَقَلِيلُهُ حَرَامٌ. Whatever its great amount would intoxicate, its small amount is haram as well. Alcohol likewise is najis, it's impure. Right? Allah Jalla wa Ala proclaims it as such in the Quran. إِنَّهُ رِجْس, it's impure. So, we have the description of it being impure as well as it being, haram. So the 2 of them, we should have them clear in mind. Pure vanilla extract, because of its alcohol content, it's deemed haram. You have artificial vanilla extract, which is actually just a chemical that mimics the scent and the flavor of the extract. So that may or may not contain alcohol. Look at the ingredients, you're going to find it's a powder they sell in the market. It's going to be all, chemicals upon chemicals. And the sad thing is that when we talk about food today, you have to really ask, is it food? Is it really food? During Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam's time, they ate food, real food, right? Today we're eating food and more than half of it's chemicals. To the point, like, in the slide I showed you over here, brothers, and I'm just going to backtrack a little bit over here. With these colors, why do we add colors to foods anyways? To make it more appealing. Because if it didn't have any of these colors, it would be healthy for you. Technically speaking. But it's not appealing, so you're not going to eat as much. But if it looks good, you'll eat more, and you want to buy it. That's a sad thing. We're basically filling our bodies with all these chemicals that harm the body, subhanAllah. So, to Brother Ahmad's question, when it comes to pure vanilla extract, it's haram because of what I've mentioned. You got to be careful about that. We have the artificial vanilla extract, which generally is good, it's okay, but you'll see artificial. You find it in the market. Even if you look at the cheaper products, lower end products, ice creams and whatnot, they may have vanilla extract in there, but it usually is artificial. If you're in doubt, don't just take an educated guess. Call up the company, they'll tell you. We're living in Canada where they don't suppress information, so make use of that and ask and inquire. I would really suggest that you do that. The third form is called natural vanilla extract, and there's forms of this. There are some that contain alcohol and others that don't contain alcohol. So the label of the bottle will tell you, but they tend to be more expensive than the pure vanilla extract. Just do your homework, your due diligence, and you'll know. Like I said, you find this in almost everything. You'll even find it, brothers, on the topic of alcohol, by the way. many of the products in Tim Hortons, they do contain alcohol in it. And just so you understand, when I say that alcohol is an impure substance, this is the view held by the majority of scholars. Yeah, there is a minority opinion that says it's a pure substance. Yani meaning that if it does not intoxicate you, you can go ahead and eat and drink. So you might think, well, what's the big issue? Impure, pure. There is a significant, fruit to this debate. And that is, let's say, for us, on a level that we can understand and perceive. If you go to Tim Hortons and you want to get yourself an ice cap, they tell you has trace amounts of alcohol in it. So, because I take by the view of the majority of scholars that alcohol is impure, okay, I will not take it, I don't drink it, because I believe it to be impure. I leave it aside. Those who say that no, alcohol is not impure, it's a pure substance. Like I said, there are scholars who take by this viewpoint. It's in the Hanafi madhab and other madhab, but like it's a minority opinion. They would then indicate that since this is a pure substance, the ice cap would be okay to consume. It would not be deemed haram on account of that being there in trace amounts, okay? The khilaf will be present. I'm not imposing my view upon you, but just to kind of give you an understanding as to how this is important and what impact it would have had possibly upon you. Most donuts that have fillings, or actually all donuts that have fillings in Tim Hortons have alcohol in it as well. It's a flavor enhancer. Rather than putting all sugar, they put 1 scoop of sugar and 1 alcohol. It enhances the flavor to a crazy amount. So it saves them money, it's more cost effective for them, and they make these, a good return on their investment. So, for me, if you ask me personally, I would say avoid eating the cream-filled donuts and whatnot from Tim Hortons. Eat something that does not have that. If I need a donut, eat, for example, a donut that does not have cream filling. Avoid ice cap. But if you don't take by that view, that's up to you, really. I'm not going to impose it upon you. But there is, like I said, this khilaf will be present regardless. So, it's a very important thing to look at, these substances. Pure vanilla extract is almost in everything, like I said. And, I hope that covers your question, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. Any other?
So we'll take a question from the sisters.
We have 2 questions from the sisters.
Go ahead, sister.
Jazakumullah khair. So the first question is about, things like hand sanitizers or lotions and shampoos that contain alcohol, especially in terms of hand sanitizer, where the alcohol almost completely evaporates.
Yep.
What's the meaning of that?
Well, with hand sanitizers, they do contain. The question over here is not all alcohol. The thing that I want to maybe raise your attention to is that not all alcohol is deemed haram. Now, I found an app on. There's quite a few apps, halal apps. One of them I downloaded was done by, I would believe, an enthusiastic brother who knows how to code. So this app, it actually said, gives you like a link to Wikipedia for everything that he's deemed haram. So in the A section, he had alcohol. So I clicked alcohol, it took me down to the chemical variant of alcohol on Wikipedia. He said haram because it's alcohol. No, not every alcohol, technically or scientifically speaking, that's considered alcohol is haram. There are forms of alcohol that are deemed halal. Xylitol, for example. It's not going to make you drunk. It doesn't intoxicate. Xylitol is a replacement for sugar. Nothing haram in that whatsoever. You have, isopropyl, methane, or methanol, sorry. These are different forms of alcohol. You're not going to drink them, but they will not, they're not deemed haram. If you drink it, they'll kill you, so it'll be haram because of that. But then, on account of just it being there, it's not haram. So what is haram from the alcohols? It's ethanol in an amount that people consume that would intoxicate them. So looking at the alcohol content found in hand sanitizers, likewise the alcohol found in perfumes, to me this is not haram. Because if you drink that, it will not intoxicate you, it will kill you. The reason, this is called denatured alcohol. If you look, it's written denat alcohol usually. Denat alcohol is a combination of a lot of ethanol, but then there's other things as well. And the way that alcohol works is amazing. It just changes the qualities almost instantaneously. And you have a different substance, it will not intoxicate, it'll kill you. So we look at the illah, or the reason why this has been prohibited. It's been prohibited because it intoxicates. If it does not intoxicate, but rather kills you, khalas, at that point it's something else. It would not be deemed haram. But I know there are some people who are very sensitive. They may see the word alcohol, haram outright. That's up to them, but I tell you, from my understanding, from my standpoint, not everything that is called alcohol is haram. There are certain things, yes, and other things that are not. Is that clear, inshallah? Okay.
So just another question, when it comes to the food additives that you were talking about, the colors and whatnot, if we're going by that principle that it harms us, wouldn't that rule out a lot of other things like sugar and palm oil and the char on barbecue and all that stuff? Or is it, because from my understanding of the food additives, it's only when you have it in a high quantity that
Yes.
that it presents those symptoms, right? So if you're having a candy once in a while that has those colors in it, or you're baking with food coloring once in a while, does that still mean that it's a...
I would not say these are haram, sister. Like once in a while will not make it haram. But the thing is that there is a potential for harm here. So what I would suggest in a case that your children might want to have a candy every so often, there are candies in the marketplace, in Superstore and other places where they sell candies that only have natural coloring and with no sugar. It has a xylitol, which is much better than sugar. White sugar alone is dangerous. Actually, the interesting thing is, and I've been reading a lot of research on this, where they speak of the danger of white sugar. They say sugar is a toxin that harms your body. And it's amazing, subhanAllah. They say this research was suppressed by the industry because, at one point, the rise of this sugar industry where they were making tons of money, they silenced researchers and research papers that had written of the danger of sugar. They've just come out now. These are research papers from the 40s, the 60s and whatnot that have detailed the danger of this substance. So I would say limit as much as you can your sugar intake. Replace it with something that's better, maybe honey, which is the best replacement. In the case that you want to have something more of a punch to it, xylitol would be a good replacement. You have as well, the stevia, although it has a very bad aftertaste, but nonetheless. I would avoid aspartame. Aspartame is dangerous, in the long run. So it's really a judgment call here by yourself. Yeah, of course, the individual packet of aspartame will not kill you, but Allahu A'lam what damage it would do to your body. If you're taking it on a daily basis, where some people take, and I've seen this, some brothers, they would take only 1 spoon of sugar in their tea. They take 4 packs of aspartame in their tea now. I said, "Ya akhi, what are you doing?" He said, it's healthier. No, it's not healthier. And Allah, you go back to the sugar, it's better for you. But that's, it's a judgment call for you. So you don't know what impact it would have upon the body as time progresses. It might have, an impact that would be very dangerous for you, subhanAllah. So I would say avoid and limit as much as you can and replace with something better, inshallah. Oh, yeah,
We have more questions from the
Yes.
sisters, if that's okay.
I'd like to know if it is permissible for me to work in a fast food restaurant where they serve bacon, root beer, and alcohol. But I did look for other job opportunities, but at the moment I'm not able to find, and I did find an opportunity in a fast food restaurant. So in this case, I'm not consuming the alcohol or the bacon or the root beer. With my money that I make out of it, you consider that
Sister, what is your role in the in that restaurant? Are you
food preparation. I do have to get in touch with the baking with my gloves.
okay? But you don't serve the alcohol. You don't.
No, there's no alcohol, there's root beer. Now, I don't know if root beer has,
So it's like a fast food restaurant.
yes.
Okay, so what I hear, look, if a person's in need of a job, definitely understand that. We say that, always look for something else that would replace what you're doing right now. I mean, always keep your options open. Because here we have in the hadith, مَنْ تَرَكَ شَيْءٍ لِلَّهِ عَوَضَهُ اللَّهُ خَيْرًا مِنْهُ. If someone leaves something for the sake of Allah, Allah will give them better in return. I'm not saying quit your job right now and leave, no. But always keep your options open. Keep on putting resumes out. See other positions available. And inshallah, in due time, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, shortly, Allah will replace you and give you something much better, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. But aside from that, the ruling of someone in your position over here, look, we have the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَلَا تَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ. Do not cooperate with each other in haram. Now, you being there, preparing the meat, whatever it is, and it being served by someone else, you're cooperating in that capacity. But it's not a full-out haram where you'll be committing a major sin, because you have degrees of sin over here, minor and major. But as long as you're in a situation of need, inshallah, may Allah Jalla wa Ala overlook this for you and give you something better, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. I mean, always look for something better. And inshallah, if you keep on searching, Allah will give you something better, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, inshallah. Any other questions? Yes, brother.
Yeah, so a lot of time the food package is with CCOR or U or D. So they
Which ones? Kosher?
kosher.
Yeah. Well, look, Yafi, kosher, it's an interesting thing. We know the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam came from Ahlul Kitab. We know in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to us, وَطَعَامُ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ حِلٌّ لَكُمْ. The food of Ahlul Kitab are lawful unto you. That there are some guidelines here. The food of Ahlul Kitab is lawful for us as long as the food that they're eating has been deemed lawful for us in our Quran and Sunnah. So if the Christians are eating pork, you can't say, oh, وَطَعَامُ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ حِلٌّ. No. Because pork is deemed haram in their scripture as it has been deemed haram in our scripture. So you can't eat that. But when it comes to foods that we're allowed to eat by default, so beef and chicken, lamb, now let's say it's been slaughtered by a Christian or a Jew, then in that case it falls within the realm of وَطَعَامُ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ حِلٌّ لَكُمْ. But the ayah speaks of unprocessed foods, keep in mind. Unprocessed meat. Now with kosher, I have more faith in kosher than I do in many of the Christian, Christian, they don't have a certificate for foods, but the Jews do have a very strict observance of kosher certificate. So for a Muslim, if I see kosher, it comforts me that I know this is, it's good hygiene, good practice. Sad thing is at times they might have a better hygiene than some Muslim preparation that is. It's sad to say, but that's a reality sometimes, Allah understand. So, all that aside, with the kosher, we said that Allah has deemed it lawful for us as long as it has been unprocessed. With processed kosher foods, you got to be careful. Because they process their foods at times with red wine or white wine. Right? The kosher wines, they call them, right? So that is haram for us. So something can initially, by default, be halal in terms of the meat that you're looking at, but because it's been processed in a haram substance, or cured in red wine or white wine, it is then deemed haram. Not on account of it being a meat, but rather on account of how it was handled and the end result now, being prepared in something impure. So you got to be careful with it. So with the kosher, with the stam, you'll usually find with some certain soups and chicken products, that I have no issue with taking. But when it comes to restaurant food that's been prepared in a kosher deli, for example, or let's say you're flying, this is a very common thing. You might order a meal, kosher meal, and then you'll be shocked. On the bottom it says, I've seen, because I did it myself once. I was in Air Canada and they don't have very good halal food, astaghfirullah. I kind of quit doing the whole Muslim meal in Air Canada because they gave me, Indian dal and rice. I said, man, what is this? This is halal. I said, well, breakfast, lunch, and all dal and rice. I said, what you guys doing? But anyways, I said, next time, there's no way. So on my return trip, I asked for kosher. I was happy. Then I turned the whole thing. It's stamped by a rabbi. This has been prepared in white wine. Like, here it goes. The whole thing goes out the window. I can't touch it. SubhanAllah. So yeah, that's the thing over here. You got to be careful with how it's processed. If it's not processed, it's halal. But if it's been processed, ask how it's been processed, specifically with meats. But everything else would be okay then, inshallah. Yes, yeah.
Sorry, you brought the white wine. White wine vinegar.
With vinegars, brother, we have the hadith of Abu Talha radiallahu anhu when he came to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and he was asking the Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam about the irth of the orphans. The irth of those orphans, the inheritance of those orphans were, you can say, bottles of liquor, right, and wine. And this, of course, is after the liquor had been prohibited in the Quran and in the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So he said, Ya Rasulullah, although it's been prohibited, can I, take this wine, transform it into vinegar, so that it can be sold, they can make money off it. These are orphans, Ya Rasulullah. He said, no, you can't do that. So we have a distinction here. If something has been taken, let's say alcohol has been taken, and then intentionally transformed into vinegar, this is haram. But if it transforms by itself, it's halal. Okay? Now with these companies, I dare not ask that question because sometimes I see white vinegar, white wine vinegar. I would, just to stay out of the doubt, I'd go with the ihtiyat, I'd go with the white vinegar that does not say white wine vinegar. It's a very sensitive point over here. If it was from wine, then by right, as a corporation, as an industry, they would do it with intent to transform it from its wine state to a vinegar state. Whereas white wine would go through, it's like a process. You take the whatever, in the midst of that process you get wine, at the very end you get vinegar. That's how the vinegar process is, right? So, yeah, I would just say maybe best to avoid it and take that which you're kind of more sure of. Unless it's been proven it's a name, because sometimes they put like names on certain vinegars to make it more fancier, but it's the same process, A to Z. So if it's the same process, it doesn't matter. That requires to be some research though. So, what's that cool thing? Yes, yes.
I was just wondering if you can touch upon cheese, and there's a lot of opinions about that, and I think the substance is called rennet or
Yes.
renin or something like that.
Yeah.
So, and I've read some articles about like the whole transmutation process and all that stuff. So I'm wondering if you can.
Well, with cheese, ya akhi, I mean, let me just, before I get into the cheese issue, the interesting thing is that, the majority of the brothers, and forgive me for saying this, the brothers who really are strong, they have a strong opinion on the matter, they're Hanafi usually. And Abu Hanifa rahmatullahi alayhi deems it lawful to eat rennet from anything. So they basically gone against the view of Abu Hanifa rahmatullahi alayhi in this issue. And they've adopted the view of other scholars. Okay, aside the point. When it comes to rennet, brothers, sisters, the cheese that we eat today, the majority of it does not contain rennet. There's so many other methods through which we coagulate milk to make cheese. Microbial. You've got, to make it, there's certain methods that use like a vitamin C kind of an additive to the milk to coagulate it and make it into cheese. The rule of thumb over here, the cheaper the cheese, you're guaranteed that there's no rennet in it whatsoever. So you get the cheap processed stuff, there's no rennet in there. It's chemicals. It's like I said, you don't know what you're eating today. It looks like food, but it's not food. It's all chemicals. That's the reality. Rennet-based cheese are very expensive, higher end. You look at the Oka cheese, for example. Have you heard of Oka cheese? It's nice. It's smelly, but it's very nice. So the Oka cheese that has actual rennet in it, and it's different. The makeup, the structure, it's different. So, to brush everything and say haram, that's wrong. To me, I have no issue eating any cheese. I believe it to be all halal unless it contains pepsin. Pepsin is from the inner lining of the pig's stomach. They put it as a coating on the outside of the exterior of the cheese. And that's it. But then it'll be written clearly that this contains pepsin. You avoid that. But the majority, you go with Black Diamond, you go to the Kraft. These are just microbial, nothing haram in it to begin with. I mean, some will come a bit strict on it. That's really their thing, nonetheless. Because you have people who buy the halal cheese, it's stamped halal. You can do that if you want it, but I see no need to do that. So the whole issue over here, that there is a khilaf, and like I said in the beginning of the speech, certain debates we don't want to impose a view. The thing that I have an issue is that the view are taken by one and believe the other side to be completely false. That's wrong. Just understand that there is a khilaf, there is difference of opinion, and knowing that, we basically, and accepting others for what they take by it, I don't think there's any issue in that. So there is a khilaf. The view that I take by and believe to be the stronger view is that it's okay to eat any cheese as long as it does not contain haram substances in specific. Now the cheese issue, it's come up many times. Once there was a program that I was in, and they provided snacks for the attendees. The snacks, I believe, were Doritos that had a cheese flavoring. And some sister, she went crazy saying this is all haram, it contains pig rennet. I mean, if you're going to make cheese, right, let's say using cow milk, you can't take rennet from a pig and put it inside the milk. You have to use rennet from the same animal, so the science is not there. So you're using cow milk, taking rennet from the same animal, and putting it there to coagulate it. That's how you make it. Technically speaking, you want to make pig cheese, you can do that. You take it from a pig and you do it that way. But who will eat pig cheese? I never heard of that. So they'll add it just for flavor and whatnot, maybe at times the pepsin. But overall, I told the sister Doritos, it's all chemicals. And they look at it's all full of E numbers and chemicals maybe some natural tasting flavors, but then overall that's it. I mean, subhanAllah, there's no cheese there anyways. So I mean, the question is one that is always opened up when it comes to these to a topic on food. But my approach is that it's halal. If you think it's not and don't want to, then it's your choice, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. Yes.
Maybe a question from the
Sisters, go ahead, inshallah, if you have a question.
Just had a question actually about buying products. So I know we're not supposed to. We're not supposed to buy products that contain alcohol in them, just based on that hadith. That
Yes.
when we're talking specifically about food. So let's say, I'm sorry. So let's say we are buying a product like a salad kit, and we want the salad kit because it has the vegetables and that's halal, and they have a separate dressing in there, but the dressing has alcohol in it or gelatin in it or something. But we have the intent that we're going to buy the salad kit, take it home, and put our own dressing that we know is halal in it. Is it still unpermissible to buy that product because part of it contains alcohol in it?
No, here this is two separate products basically. Although the salad kit, I don't think they're mixed. It's not pre-mixed. You mix it yourself.
You mix it yourself.
Yeah,
so
so-
everything is in separate.
Yeah, so you would that would not take the same ruling. Because the ruling that we talked about, إذا اجتمع حاضر ومبيح, when the food physically is touching each other. So in this case, it's not physically touching, and it would not share the hukum in that sense. So it's okay. You can buy it, toss that out, and replace it with whatever you want, inshallah. Inshallah. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so part of the time in bread and bread products and cakes, we see an ingredient it calls mono and diglycerides.
Yes.
There is something else.
Well, monoglycerides and diglycerides, triglycerides, these substances, if they're proven to be broken down and they fall in the category of istihala, it becomes halal. But then, that issue of it not being completely broken down or partially broken, that is, a point of question. But to me, it would appear, because we did some research on this over here, and it would appear that it's broken down, chemically speaking, so that would not then be deemed haram. Although the source may be haram, but as it's gone through the entire process, it then makes it halal, and it's okay then in that case. You have to do some research on this too, because every product is slightly different.
Yeah, sometimes they have, it says vegetable
Yeah, no,
sources
see,
in the bracket.
So this requires of you, certain products require of you some legwork, some homework to phone the company up and ask certain questions. Like I said, the labeling is not the clearest that we have here, so you have to, there's some points ambiguous, you have to phone up and clarify those points. Yes.
Allah reward you. You touch up that question, but I just want to clear first when you say وطعام أهل الكتاب حل لكم.
Yes.
بالنسبة chicken and beef, you say kosher is something if it's not processed.
Yep.
But how about the Christian part? If you see somebody who's eating meat,
Yes.
that's not being slaughtered as a Muslim, and then he's just like a Christian. Can you say that meat is haram?
Well,
Compared to what the
Well, you see, like with the Jews, they have the kosher is not just a matter of the food, the additives. It's also the method that they slaughter the animal as well. They've got kosher knives, kosher certification, rabbis come and inspect everything. So like I said, I feel more comfortable with the Jewish process as opposed to the Christian process. Christian process, if you go to some of the farms up north, I mean, where there's Christian farmers who own certain, farms, and they have plants where they might, you will still find they hand slaughter these things. They hand slaughter them. That would be okay, completely. But now when it comes to the commercial processing, where everything has been stunned, that's something else.
No, sorry, I'm just saying no process. Like you go, there's a meat here, kosher, there's a meat here, that's halal, and there's a meat, a Christian meat.
Yeah.
And somebody say this meat is not processed, it's haram, don't eat it. It's because people this day, they will just, as long as it's not a Muslim, it's haram. This food is haram. Even if it's Christian, it's
You
haram.
mean- you mean not at the farm, you mean-
People just say that halal and haram,
Yeah.
because it's like this meat is slaughtered Islamic way, this is slaughtered like it's a Christian way, it's haram. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm just saying. Is it like can you say like Christian meat is not processed, it's haram? Like don't eat it.
But let's say your example to clarify it further. You went to superstore, let's say, and you
Yes.
found halal meat, and then you found you're not going to find it, but I'm just argument's sake, you find a meat processed by a Christian company, for example, right? The sad thing is here with the Christian companies, they cannot simply hire only Christians. These are big factories, corporations. Let's say there's a Hindu, a Sikh, an atheist that comes and they're certified butchers. If they go and then they say, you know what, I want to apply for that position you have open for a butcher, and if they're turned down simply because they don't believe as they believe, they can take them to court, sue them, and they'll be liable. So the reality is, you've got, although yes, you might have in certain Christian plants, you will have Christian workers working side by side with a Hindu, with a Sikh, with an atheist, maybe a Muslim even. Everyone's slaughtering. When they slaughter, what happens? All the meats are put together, processed together in one. Then that brings out a question mark. How much of it was halal? How much of it was haram? We don't know. So on account of that doubt, we have that rule, al-ihtiyat, to be safe and sound, to take precautionary measures, avoid it. I'm not saying it's haram. I'm saying that there is a big doubt in it, so best to avoid this. That's why the Jewish one, because somehow they have the rule of that you can only slaughter if you are part of our faith, and they have a very strict method. I've seen that method. They're very strict about it. So then I have no issue with eating that meat. But with the others, they don't have that method yet. So I would avoid it in that case. I would not say haram.
I would say haram. That was just
yes,
saying.
yes,
Because
exactly.
these days
You might
people say halal,
find
haram.
no, you might find some who say no. Like with the chicken products.
Yes.
Chicken, all of it's stunned. Muslim product, and everything is stunned. Water stunned, not just here, across the world. When I was in Malaysia and I was in what they call it in Saudi, they stun the animals there, akhi. And what's worse, you might have in some Arab countries, Muslim countries, where they don't, like in Malaysia, it's stunned, but then they hand slaughter every individual chicken. So I'm good with that, alhamdulillah. Although it's stunned, if it's dead, it's put aside. If it does not die, it's still alive, they would set the neck and that's it, right? So you can be sure that that process would give you halal, 100%. But now in other countries, Arab countries, they stun it, and there's sometimes a very poor practice, and these practices I've not seen it, but people have told me of them firsthand. They said that one of these factories that were processing halal chicken, they have it's like the chicken are taking on it's like a pulley, and it goes down into the water. It's stunned, it comes out. So when it stuns it sits still. Otherwise, you can't have the bird flopping around with a blade. It's a helicopter blade that goes like this. So in one of these factories, they actually had like an arch. So like they have the chicken going in the water, right? And then the blade is right here. The chicken goes this way, and it goes on the side. So in the arch, it's written Bismillah, Allahu Akbar. No one's saying it. It is going through this, and this is in a Muslim country. Another one, they had a tape playing, Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, and this is a joke. How can it doesn't make it halal? So they had a very obscure understanding of this. There is a method through which this can be deemed halal, but many don't apply it. So keep in mind, everything that we're eating today in Canada is stunned. The beef is stunned here. The lamb is stunned. The chicken is stunned. Everything is stunned here. Everything. Whether it's halal or haram, it doesn't matter. Everything is stunned. That's by law. You can't avoid it. And to me, I say, alhamdulillah, we're not like other European countries where they require the chicken to be killed before you actually slaughter it. There's some countries that they gas the chicken, it dies, they suffocate it, and they take it out, and you can then begin to slaughter the chicken afterwards, after it's dead. This becomes maita, haram outright. So here in Canada, it's stunned, the heart is still pumping, and then that's when they do whatever they do, yes. So just to kind of diverge to your question over here, now looking at how this can be deemed halal, although we stun the animal, and with mechanical slaughter now, not hand slaughter, mechanical slaughter, how can it be deemed halal? We have one process mentioned by some of the scholars, and this has backing from the Sunnah of Rasulullah, which to me is the safest method through legitimizing the mechanical process. So during Rasulullah's time, they had hunting dogs. Okay, the hunting dog, the way that you would hunt with it. Of course, you can shoot with an arrow, or you can just send the dog off. So there'll be like some birds in the distance. You would have the dog on a leash, right? It's trained not to eat, but to kill and keep for you. So you'd have that dog on the leash, and you let go of the leash and say, Bismillah, Allahu Akbar. Now the animal, it runs. Let's say it caught 1, 2, 3, 4. It killed 4 birds for you. How many times did you say Bismillah, Allahu Akbar? 1 time. You said Bismillah, Allahu Akbar upon what? The dog, which is basically the instrument. And they went and killed 4 animals, right? All of it becomes halal because that initial Bismillah, Allahu Akbar. That's what we have. We call it kalb al-mu'allam. It's a kalb al-mukallab, sorry. This is a trained hunting dog. In this sense, it's halal. So they said, looking at this, to make the mechanical process halal, the person who's operating the machinery to be a Muslim who says Bismillah Allahu Akbar and ons the switch. If it kills 1,000, it all is halal with the initial Bismillah Allahu Akbar. It suffices. So here, I know there are some people who take by this, who are aware of it, they take by this process, and others who are unaware of it altogether. But regardless, everything here is stunned. So whether it's from a Muslim factory, a non-Muslim factory, Allahu A'lam. The only thing that we have is some say hand slaughtered, some say machine slaughtered. But regardless, even the hand slaughtered, how well do you know the person who slaughtered that? There's some people that, and to me the hand slaughtered is more of a question on it at times than machine slaughtered. You come across, because this is a position of amana, a trust, where you're entrusted to kill the animal properly, in accordance with the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Let's say the butcher, the man who's slaughtering, has requested a raise at work, and the boss says, no raise for you. You're not going to get the raise. The man comes and says, you know what? The next 1,000 chicken, no Bismillah Allahu Akbar. I will not say Bismillah for the next 1,000 chicken. So he's just cutting that chicken without saying Bismillah Allahu Akbar. You can't control that. Whereas the machine I can control. That's why I'm saying sometimes it's a complicated thing, right? So overall, I hope that answers each other. Sister, yes, Jazakallah.
Sorry, I just wanted to make the differentiation. Like when we go to Superstore and there's Maple Lodge Farms, the Sunrise Farms, all those are Christian companies.
Yeah.
They're Western companies.
That's true.
So when it comes to Western companies, can we even say that they're halal? Because they're corporations. They don't have any religious identity.
No, true. I agree. This is the question over here. That these are, even let's say if the owner is a Christian, which you can envision that the owner might be a Christian, right? But then the company is not a Christian company, because by